So hey guys, in this video we're looking at the brand new Zoom H1n handy recorder. This is replacing the very popular Zoom H1 that was popular with both professionals and enthusiasts alike. So the new H1n goes for around $119 US or about $129 Canadian. Considering how the older H1 model can be had for anywhere between $50 and $80 on clearance, is the H1n really worth the added cost? Well, let's take a look. So for me, the standout new feature of the H1n over the H1 would be the onboard limiter that's been added. What that does is it will prevent audio distortion in the case of audio clipping. So if the signal is set too high and you speak loudly into the microphone, it will try to reduce the amount of distorted audio picked up. I don't know if this is a software-based limiter or a hardware-based one, but it seems to work pretty well. At this price point, my guess would be software. Also new with the H1n is this new microphone cage. It's meant to protect the microphone capsules, but it's larger than the older one. So if you are used to putting this into your pocket, you might have a little bit of trouble getting all of it now in. So I would say that's a downside. Also, there's a new dial for the gain knob instead of buttons, which might accidentally slip if you put it into your pocket. Something to be aware of, but it seems to be pretty stiff. It shouldn't move, but it does not lock in place at all. So just something to be careful of. So on the side of the device, we have a USB port, which can either power the device with 5 volts, or you can use the device as a USB interface for the line-in or for the microphones. It has a hold and power switch, and it has a micro SD card slot supporting 32 gigabytes. That's something you'll need to buy. It does not come included. Now we also have a line-in mic-in port, which is a 3.5 millimeter TRS stereo input jack. And that is fantastic to see. A lot of devices only have a single recording channel. This will record both left and right. So let's say you're doing an interview with 2 lapel mics. You can plug them in using an adapter and have one record to the left channel and one to the right channel. I did notice that when using the mic in, that if I was pushing a mic to both left and right channel using a 2-pole input jack, the gain was about half as much as if I was using a stereo input jack and recording to just one channel. Something to be aware of if you're not getting good pickup. Another thing to be aware of actually is that this is a TRS input port, meaning 3 poles on the plug and not 4. If you pick up a lapel mic that's for a smartphone that has 4 poles on it and a headset port, it will not work if you plug it into this. So you will want to get an adapter that converts from 4 to 3 poles. I did measure the voltage coming out of this 3.5 millimeter port though, which is needed for some lapel microphones that don't provide their own battery. And I measured a 2.27 voltage, which is really rather low. I would expect around 3 volts, maybe 4 volts for a PC sound card. So 2.27 is going to make some microphones underperform, and so you will want to probably pick up a battery-powered lapel mic. So on the back we have a threaded plastic tripod mount, so you can put this on a little mini tripod for recording, or you can get a tripod to hot shoe adapter and put this on your DSLR camera. Now, if you do that, you can use the line out and feed that into your camera if it has a mic or line input port. And then you can kind of treat this as a on-camera shotgun microphone. It does have a functionality for setting the gain on your camera, so it will produce a loud tone that you can then use to set the levels on your camera correctly. So on the front, we have a auto gain function, which will allow the device to control the gain for you automatically. We have a limiter function, obviously. We have a low cut button that will cycle through different frequencies. You can turn that off. And we also have the ability to cycle through recording bitrate, so 96 kilohertz at 24-bit, or you can also turn on MP3 recording format for longer recording times. So in the box came a quick start guide, a warranty. It came with licensing information for this software here that's pretty much junk. And it came with the batteries. Doesn't come with a micro SD card, does not come with a USB cable, so you'll have to buy those separately if you need those. Being critical of the device for a moment, the built-in speaker sounds like junk. Turning the device on takes way too long. It's longer than the old H1 to load up. The device feels like it's made of cheap plastic. Not the cheapest plastic, but it feels like you could probably break and bend this pretty easily. It does have a larger cage for the microphone than the old version to protect the microphone capsules, which are also feeling like they're just painted plastic as well. But the end result is this just does not fit in your pocket as well as the old version does. So I'm also pretty disappointed with the preamps within the device. I find that they weren't really any better than the built-in preamps on my Panasonic camera. And lastly, while it's not a criticism, it would have been nice to see Bluetooth. A lot of devices these days don't have 3.5mm jacks, and devices like the iPhone don't make it easy to connect a USB device to them. So having Bluetooth would have made this device a little bit more cool. So up next, we're going to test a few microphones plugged into the device, including some cheap lapel microphones and a dynamic handheld microphone. So to start us off, I'm going to be testing the Zoom H1 with the Shure SM7B. It's plugged directly in to the device using a stereo XLR connector. So this has two connectors for XLR going into a stereo 3.5mm jack, which plugs into the line in of the Zoom H1n. Gain is set to 10, which is absolute max. So the previous microphone was a Shure SM7B, which is passively powered. This microphone is phantom powered. It is a Sennheiser MKH416. It needs about 48 volts to be powered. Now the Zoom H1 can put about 2 to 5 volts out for smaller microphones, but it cannot power these 12 to 48 volt phantom powered microphones. So what I needed to do in this case was buy a external mobile phantom powered preamp. This is the Ceramonics Smart Rig. It's about $22 US on sale, maybe $30, $40 if not on sale. Takes a 9-volt battery, but will power the microphone, so this doesn't have to. It also has a built-in preamp. I have the preamp at around 30% gain, and then I have the Zoom H1n around 6 or 7 on the gain scale, and that is peaking around 12 dB, negative 12 dB. One thing to note is that the Smart Rig 2 outputs a TRRS smartphone compatible pinout, so it's 4 pins, 3.5mm with 4 poles. The H1n is not compatible with smartphone-based microphones. So if you want to hook it up to the H1n, you need to convert it from TRRS into TRS. So in this case, that would mean going from 4 poles to 2 3 poles. So one of these is a headphone, this green one here, and the red one is the microphone output. And when you do that, it works. So this microphone here can be found on Amazon for pretty cheap. It's like $30-40 fully kitted out. This microphone requires at least 4 volts to operate properly. It can be powered by both XLR or 3.5mm if you have a decent sound card. Now I have the gain on the Zoom H1 set to 10. I'm only recording to the right channel, so it should be getting maximum gain. I'm really only peaking at negative 18 dB, which is really not loud enough. What that tells me is the Zoom H1 is not outputting at least 4 volts. It might be closer to 2 or 3 volts, which is not going to be enough for this microphone. So this next microphone is by a company called Movo. I picked up on Amazon, $10 for one lavalier mic, or I got 2 for $20 actually. It was an interview set, and because this microphone has stereo support, I could actually plug both of them in and have each one having its own recording channel. So if I'm doing an interview, which is my intent, I can have one interviewee on one channel and me on the other. So in post, I can adjust the gain of each channel independently. I have the gain on the H1n set to around 6.5, and I'm peaking at around negative 12 dB. So it's important to note that not all lavalier microphones are the same though. I got this one at the dollar store, and it sounds like crap. I have the gain set to 10. I'm not getting much gain at all, and it's not that impressive. Now you can build your own microphone for this device pretty cheaply. You can buy these little microphone capsules for between $2 and $5 online, much cheaper in bulk. This one here is rated at 80 dB signal to noise ratio, which is incredibly good. I have the microphone, I have a capacitor, resistor, and 2 batteries powering the microphone. The microphone does have a little bit of gain built in, and so I'm only needing to turn the gain setting up to 6 on the Zoom H1. This microphone is omnidirectional, meaning it picks up everything in every direction, making it pretty decent for a room mic or perhaps even a lavalier. Okay, now testing the internal microphone of the Zoom H1n. It's peaking at around -10 or so, and the gain is at 7.5, so pretty high. It's stereo pickup, but this is what it sounds like. This is the internal microphone of the Zoom H1n. To 10, the gain's at max, and the limiter's on, and I'm going to speak really close into it to see if it still sounds decent. It might be a software-based limiter, but if it still sounds good, even when I'm speaking way too loud into it, too close, then we should be good. So this is a test of me being very loud. So I bought the Zoom H1n mainly for my lavalier mic and for my DSLR camera. I'm going to use it on top of my DSLR camera to be a shotgun alternative. All the shotgun systems I have tend to be too big, so I'm hoping the H1n is a little more compact and hopefully will still function good there. It has dual stereo line inputs, which I love. It will work with my lavalier microphones. I was previously using my smartphone to do it, but my smartphone doesn't have stereo input, and it also is having a problem with synchronizing the audio and the video in post. It wasn't getting the correct timestamps when I was recording. The built-in limiter is also extremely awesome. I only have one device that has a limiter at the moment, and that's my sound devices, USB Pre 2, and that's like $1,000 device. So I'm pretty excited to have this as a limiter. I have some devices like my DBX286, which I can plug into this and make use of both the audio interface, stereo line in, and the limiter now. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.